Hello, and welcome back to Dream Queen by Perla. So I wanted to make this video because I know that a lot of people are are having a lot of anxiety and a lot of fear when it comes to the COVID-19. And I personally have refrained from posting or commenting a lot when it comes to Facebook or Instagram, because when people are this afraid and people are fearful and anxious and worry and just kind of like feeling overwhelmed when it comes to the unknown as to what is happening. I've decided the few times that I did comment and I was trying to like explain the logical the sense of it when it comes to science, to try and see if people can get an understanding of it. But like I said, people are just basically out for blood, if you can relate to that. Now I'm going to share something. I'm going to kind of I'm going to start from the beginning, and then there are a couple of videos that I'm still looking for that have actually have been posted on this channel and on my other channel. So I am looking for those so that I can go ahead and post them. But as many of you are aware, I have narcolepsy with cataplexy. Now, most people believe that narcolepsy with cataplexy is just randomly falling asleep with your eyes closed, which is not just that. And the reason why I say that is since being diagnosed back in 2016 till current time, I have had multiple medical issues where I have seen multiple specialists and for different conditions, and not one doctor has been able to find anything else wrong, if that makes any sense. So in 2016, I started with very severe headaches and having a lot of blackouts. And I apologize if you hear, those are the puppies barking in the background. So I started having what you would call like the base of the head. So the pain was mainly in the back, but by the end of the day, I would have an entire headache. Like my entire head felt like not just like a headache, like, oh, let's just take some Tylenol. It felt like somebody was literally like crushing my skull in. And again, I'm going to post a link to the other YouTube channel along with some of the links for the video so that you can go ahead and see that this is not a dream that I had. This is not a vision or anything like that. This is my actual personal experience. So when I was first diagnosed, and I talk about it in the other channel, I tried a bunch of medications, of course. When I was first diagnosed, my first thought was, how am I going to work? How am I going to make a living? So I went ahead and I put my life in someone else's hand. And when I started to notice that I was having reactions to certain medications and the doctor chose not to listen, I was like, okay, I'm not doing this. You're not listening. You're not hearing. You're not listening. Whatever it is whatever you think that because you have a doctor's degree, you can tell me how I'm feeling or why I'm feeling the way that I'm feeling, when I'm telling you this is going to kill me if I literally continue to take it. So I went ahead and I switched doctors. I found a doctor who was willing to work with me and was willing to try. She gave me a year to try and find different medications. Throughout this year, I started having more and more symptoms. I started having problems with swelling. I would wake up and have like full-blown like edema in my entire body. I started having reactions to Tylenol, to Motrin, to common medications that I would normally take in the past. I started having allergic reactions to food that I normally used to eat. And now none of this started until after I tried all of these different medications. So then, I started having that, and then eventually I started having I started having seizures in my sleep, kind of like a way for my body to kind of like reboot itself, trying to get the rest that it needed. Then I started having full-blown like body pain, and in my other channel you'll see there's a couple of videos where I say that it even felt like my hair would hurt from how sensitive my entire body was. And I mean, I even talk about why I shaved my hair in the first place. Yes, I always wanted short hair, but that was really not the reason why. It was because my hair got so damaged from how many times I had to just sit under hot water just to ease the pain and just to be able to breathe. So after the pain, the full body pain and the headaches and things like that, I did try a couple of like safer medications, let's put it that way, which ended up causing more issues. And then at that point, my doctor and I agreed that regardless of what was coming forward, unless we actually found an actual diagnosis for it, I was not going to be trying anything. And that's exactly where we're at the moment. And I remember having days and having nights where I would sit, like literally the only things that would not hurt, and I'm not trying to be funny or anything like that, were my butt cheeks. Like that's like the only thing that wouldn't hurt. So I would sit on the floor and just kind of like just sit and have my feet planted on the floor and my knees were up, and I would just kind of like focus on breathing, because it felt like somebody was literally taking me by the rib cage and crushing me. So I was having a hard time breathing, and like somebody was trying to pull my heart out of like through my back. And it was one of the most excruciating pain that I had ever felt. And this was back in 2019. Between like back and forth. And I was constantly like, I have a lower temperature. My normal temp is usually like 96, 95, 96.5, 97. And it usually doesn't go above like 97.2. So the other thing that I started to notice was that I was constantly running what for me would have been a low grade fever, which was like 98.6, 98.7, 99, 99.2. Now, how do I know what my core temperature is? Well, I went ahead and I monitored my temperature for 3 months, literally daily, to know what my base was. So that this way, when I went to a doctor and I said I had a fever and I was only like 99, they would look at me like, you cannot be feeling that bad. And I'll be like, look at my records. But, when it comes to how people are feeling or how people are lashing out at other people, we have to learn to take responsibility for our own body and for our own health. If we continue on depending on the government and on our doctors to tell us what is wrong and what is right within ourselves, then do not lash out on them when then they want to come over and take full control of your life. So why do I say that? Well, a lot of people are, the government is this, the government is that. Well, if the government is taking certain, it's going to a certain extreme, it is because you yourself have allowed them and have given them that control. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, I don't understand, or I don't get why you're not afraid. Well, sweetie, first of all, I'm grateful every single day that I get up. I am grateful every single day that I'm able to get out of bed and actually be able to move. I'm grateful that I'm able to clean. I'm grateful that I'm able to cook. I'm grateful that I'm here for my kids, because there were days where I would literally have to roll myself out of bed onto the floor just to be able to get out of bed. So when I say that I'm not allowing and I'm not going to let COVID-19 or whatever the heck you want to call it stop me from living my life, it's not going to. If I went a year where when the fevers first started, right? Because this is how it started. So I started with the headaches, I started with the swelling, then the fever started, right? When the fever started and I started to track, it felt like I was getting the flu every single month. I'm like, what the heck? And that was back in 2018, so I was still working when I started having the fevers, and I would have to call out of work and be out of work for a couple of days. And then I started noticing, because I was keeping track of my cycle, every time I would get my period was due, I would start feeling with like literally flu symptoms and all of this. So then I contacted my OBGYN. He did blood work, he did everything, they couldn't find anything. I was like, okay. So that went around for like about 6 months. Then after that, I still continued with the fever, I still continued with everything, but then my cycle changed and I was getting my period like literally every 2 to 3 weeks. No, about every 2 weeks. It was about every 10 to 14 days I was starting a new cycle with my period. Now, and I was having extended, like my periods were lasting more than a week. So I was literally like almost bleeding for like 6 months straight. So again, I contacted my doctor, and now at this point, by 2018, I was already taken off of birth control pills. I had been taken off of them years ago for allergic reactions, even prior to getting diagnosed with narcolepsy. So then I go ahead and I'm getting my period, and it's getting heavy, and it's this and that, and then I go back, and then they're like, okay, you might be going through menopause. And I'm like, but I'm only 32. 32, 31, 32, and I'm kind of like looking at him like, what are you talking about? So then this was like a back and forth, and and blood work and this and that, and again, nothing is wrong. They cannot find anything. They do ultrasounds, they do sonograms, they do everything, and it's like there's nothing wrong. And I'm like, so if there's nothing wrong, why the heck am I bleeding literally for almost 6 months straight? We don't know. Okay. I went to see other doctors, other specialists, and back and forth, and this and this and that. And then last year I went ahead and I had to switch primary. So I go in and I go to see the primary. This is before the actual chest pain started, or when it was around when it had started, because I was trying to get in. Yeah, it was when it was starting. It had started, and at first I honestly thought that it was from being sick or whatever. I don't know. And so I went in and I got a new primary, and you'll see it again in my other channel where I talk about it very openly. I went ahead and she comes in with my chart, and she's like talking at me, not to me. She's not even looking at me, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, sweetie, you need to take a seat, because I haven't even decided yet if you're going to be my doctor. This is an interview for you to see if you are the primary doctor that I choose to work with. And people think that that's arrogant, or that that's this or that's that. No, because it's my health, it's my body. I know what I feel. I know how certain things make me feel. So then her and I were talking, and she goes into like my B12. I have a B12 deficiency. Again, it's on the other channel. And she wanted to try injections, which I told her were not going to work, but she didn't listen. So I was like, you know what? You want me to prove to you, because that's obviously what you're saying. You want me to prove to you that I'm not lying. Okay, let's go. And people are like, are you crazy? Weren't you afraid that you were going to die, or this and this and that? To be honest with you, with everything that I've been through physically, what my body physically has gone through, if I was going to die, I would have been dead already. That's just the honest truth. And why am I going to fear death? We are all going to, our physical body eventually one day is going to give up. And I went ahead and tried the injections. Yeah, I have a video where you're looking literally at the wall, because I'm in the tub, like barely even able to breathe. And then we go ahead and we try, we're talking about the pain, and she's like, well, we can try this and we can try that for the, for the headaches and the pressure and this and that. And I'm looking at her and I'm like, do you not get it that I'm not putting anything else in my body? My body is going to take a full reset. It's going to take time to heal itself from all the crap that you freaking doctors put inside of me when I was first diagnosed. And yes, I am not going to lie. I'm not blaming just the doctor. I am blaming myself. It was my fault for not educating myself enough. Even though I have a nursing background, my main focus when I was diagnosed was to continue working, was to continue on providing for my kids. And therefore, I went ahead and I tried medications that if I really would have taken the time, I probably would have not tried any of them. But I was so eager, and I so wanted to continue working. I so wanted to be that mom that was always there for her kids, that mom that could do it all. And in essence, what I did was, little by little, I started to destroy my body with all the medications and everything else. So, as I'm seeing people lashing at each other and literally allowing this coronavirus to take control of their mind and take control of their emotions and take control of everything. Anxiety, just an FYI out there for people, anxiety does give you shortness of breath. It does give you that chest tightening. It does give you those symptoms that you can have with the coronavirus. So when you look at yourself, you're not just a physical body. You're not just a spiritual body. You are not just one thing. Everything works together. So if you allow excuse me, if you allow yourself to emotionally go to that place, then your immune system is already compromised. Your immune system going into any situation is already compromised. So the damage that can happen to your body physically is going to be worse. So I guess what I really wanted to say is to all of you out there is to really pay attention to what you're watching and what you're listening to. There is a lot, many false news out there when it comes to the coronavirus, as well as there is a lot of truth. Now, the question is, which is which? Well, sweetie, that is up to you to go ahead and find out. All I can do is guide you, give you the resources so that you yourself can go ahead and search the truth. Because the thing is that, I'm going to take my town, for example. We had, this was yesterday or the day before, I can't remember. It was yesterday. We had the fire trucks and the police officers were driving down the street, and I heard them, and they were going full blast with their sirens and everything. I was like, I wonder what's happening. So I did go into Facebook, and I went into our town's page, and they said that they were honoring a teacher that had just retired. He didn't die. He wasn't sick with the coronavirus and everything. And I'm looking at the name, and I'm like, But somebody said that he had died, like 2 days late, like a day before or 2 days later. And I'm like, So then today somebody posted on our town's page, because I guess, and this is the thing, is like people here listen to what they want to. So it's always up to our perception and what we are allowing to come in. So someone heard that they were preparing this event for this gentleman. He is an elderly person, like in his 80s or 70s. I don't even know. Don't quote me on it. But the whole point was that somebody overheard that they were doing this in order to honor him. So right away, whoever heard that, the cops and the fire trucks and everything were going to be going down his street, they assumed, because of the coronavirus, that this person had gotten coronavirus and had died. Now, meanwhile, while the trucks and the cars are driving down his street, the man is sitting right on his porch with his little blanket, watching the fire trucks and watching all the cars and the cops and everybody driving by and beeping their horn, honoring him for the service that he has provided in the educational system here in Naugatuck. So again, whenever you read something, whenever you see something, whether it is coming from the news or from Instagram or Facebook, where everybody thinks everything on Facebook is 100% true, always go ahead and do your research, because there are a lot of things that if a person does not have an understanding on something and they hear one thing, they're going to go ahead and make their own interpretation of what they think is going on without having all the facts. As always, there is 3 sides to a story: his side or her side, vice versa, and then the actual truth. Now, getting to the actual truth is sometimes the hardest thing to do. Well, guys, that is all that I have for you today. That is today's message. By the way, I am posting on my Patreon in regards to the coronavirus and things that I have been researching and things like that. The goal is to post every day. I don't get to post every day just because sometimes I go down one avenue to get some information and then it leads me to something else. So it's like a lot of more research than I was anticipating. Let's just make it that way, because again, there is a lot of false news out there. The numbers in the United States alone have skyrocketed, and in my personal opinion, those numbers are not correct because of the way that our government is choosing to write off the death causes for patients. But again, if you want more information on that, you can go ahead to Patreon and and follow me on that. And I'm talking about that in the first tier, which is actually on sale until the end of May. But just try and do your research whenever you hear or you see something. Do not just take someone else's word for anything. Again, what I just shared about what happened are my own personal experiences, and as I continue to talk about it on my other channel and I continue to talk about it on Patreon, I will be like posting like little clips and things like that, as far as like when I had certain visits with doctors and things like that, because to me, honesty is always the best way. Transparency when it comes to certain things, not certain things, basically with everything. I have no reason why to lie about what I have physically gone through. And when it comes to my medical history, it's out there. Anyways, honestly, it's out there. But, just try and stay as much as possible in control of your thoughts, and do not allow the fear that people are feeling and the fear that people are spreading to overtake who you are or to overtake your state of mind. Well, guys, I hope that everyone has a wonderful, beautiful Saturday, and I will see you guys real soon. Oh, before I forget, I did do the zodiac signs, so those will be posted shortly. I'm just editing the titles and then they'll be released. Bye. Take care.